Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another edition of the Middle Georgia Spotlight. I'm your host, Jack Ellis. We are glad to have you with us this week. And in the spotlight this week, no stranger to those of us here in the Middle Georgia area, Macon and Middle Georgia, but we want to talk to her about all the changes that's taken place of late and the voting. We've heard a lot about the voting and so forth. And this is none other than Jeanetta Watson, Bibb County Board of Election. So we'd like to welcome you to our program and put you in the spotlight.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You know, there's so much that we can talk about when it comes to voting and voting rights and all that, but we want to talk about procedural things as well as some of the things that you all are doing over there to get people motivated, fired up, and out to vote, because we know it's not your responsibility to turn them out. Your responsibility to make sure when they turn out they have, the machines and all that. But let's start with the new voting laws. As at the aftermath of the Stacey Abrams campaign, a lot of accusations were made, and insinuation that the machines could be tampered with, and it led to a new law. Tell us about that law. It's going to change the voting machines on the election coming up, and how has that impacted you?
Okay. Well, the current voting system that we have currently in place, it actually tabulates votes. And the House Bill 316, which was passed in legislation this past April, it introduces a ballot marking device where you're not going to have memory within that system. The voter would actually be able to vote their ballot and get a printed out receipt of what they voted for, verify that receipt, and then it would get scanned into a tabulator. So that would be a little bit of a different process. Currently, the Secretary of State has not selected a vendor, but the vendors that we've been looking at, or the 3 vendors that they've narrowed down to, have similar equipment, and that particular law specifies that we have to go into this ballot marking system. And I think the voters will like it. I think they'll like it because they'll actually have something concrete that they can look at. I think it will minimize error. The error on behalf of the poll worker, the error on behalf of the voter. The voter was given an incorrect ballot, the voter voted an incorrect ballot. Now they will be given an opportunity to mark their ballot and actually see a printout of what they voted for prior to casting it. Therefore, if there's an error, we can catch it before they vote and make sure they get the proper ballot. I like that part about it, I really do.
Now, what input did you have as a professional with the Secretary of State or other supervisors throughout the state? Did you all have input into the type? Did they consult you, or they made the decision? This is kind of, or you said they haven't made it. They made a decision on the machine, but not the vendor, you say?
They've made a decision on the, there's 3 vendors that are in the running, but they haven't chosen a vendor. Okay. As far as the equipment, lots of election supervisors and offices around the state were able to look at these particular different systems and say, well, which ones we thought might work better
for
the
had
public.
Input.
Yes.
You had some input.
Yes, absolutely.
Good. So let's bring it home now. That's state. Let's bring it home. We have election 2020. Of course, if no one knows that the election is coming up in 2020, they've been on a rock someplace. We know the presidential election, but the local election we want to talk about. But before we get to 2020, I understand we have one more election this year.
We do. We have a special election that we will be calling relatively soon. The board met on last Thursday and agreed to conduct a special election for the Bibb County Board of Education for their SPLA, so that they can continue their penny.
One item on the
one item, just that one item.
And when will that be?
That will be November the 5th.
November the 5th.
Yes.
Okay, which is about the same time that 2020 election will be.
We'll be rolling right out for that immediately following. Yes, sir.
Well, good. So now this is one item, Board of Election, penny, so you decide whether you want to vote for it or not.
Yes.
But you're going to hold the election.
Yes.
Now let me ask you this. I know that those of us who've been in the civil rights movement, been out here with this voting thing for so long, a lot of us advocated for having additional sites. You heard us, you put one at the terminal station. I understand now that has been taken, and you spent a sizable amount of money to put it there.
Yes, sir.
I understand that is no longer available to us.
That's correct.
Do we have an early voting place now, other than your headquarters?
No, sir.
No, so we're going to have one site going forward.
As far as I know, at this particular moment, we have one site. We did request to have an additional early voting site, and as you know, that the fiduciary persons that fund us have not agreed to give us the funding for that at this time.
The county didn't agree to fund another site, even though they took that one because they needed the space.
Yes, so right now they did not fund us to have an additional site.
Well, I think that's terrible, but I know you can't, you do your job, you're a professional, but I can say I think it's a terrible idea, and I'm going to give them a call. But, okay, so we're going to have one site so we're going to have the early voting, but it's all going to be at one location, Board of Election, which is located on Pinona.
That's correct.
The old Westgate Shopping Center,
Yes,
a lot
sir.
of people
Yes,
know
sir.
about.
Yes, sir.
Now, before we get to voting next year, what about the purge? We hear, correct all the rumors that's out there, that so many people in Bibb County, people of color, others who don't vote on a regular basis, were systematically removed from the rolls last year. Any truth to that?
No, we didn't.
Not you, the Secretary of State.
Yeah, the Secretary of State will periodically do purges from the system, and those are voters that have not voted within, at that particular time, that rule was within 2 general elections. And I believe House Bill 316, I don't know it verbatim because it's such a new law, has changed that to a 5-year period.
Makes sense.
So, so when they do go through that purging system, they provide the details to the offices of who is scheduled to come off of the roll, either due to age, or they've gotten some information that that person has passed away, or that person didn't vote within that 5-year time period. So they've made some adjustments
Well,
with that.
good. It's about time, because I look at, I'm retired from the military, and I remember doing the military draft, and we still have to register for the draft. So I look at it like that. Once a person is registered, no matter where he or she moves, you're still registered for the draft. They'll find you if they,
yes, sir.
So I think voting registration, once you're registered, you're registered, unless you die or move out of the country. So I'm glad to know that the change has taken place there, that people will, because some people, forget to vote one time and they still think they're registered, or they move. Probably the biggest problem that you have in our community, and communities like ours, where we have a lot of transient people. When I say transient, a lot of people move a lot because we have so many apartment buildings and low-income people. They stay 1 year and they move someplace else. What can be done, if anything, because you can't make people leave a foreign address.
Sure.
But how can we allow for that? Is there any procedures? Say you say, I sent you something in the mail. I haven't lived there in 2 years.
Well, I'll tell you what. The Secretary of State, if we don't have contact with voters within a certain period of time, there are letters that are sent out to that voter, and then once that letter goes out, if they've had a forwarding address, it does get forwarded to that new address, and it gives them an opportunity to say, yes, I've moved, and this is my new information. So there is a process that they go through where there's no contact been made, or the voter didn't come out and vote, and those letters go out to those voters. So there is a system that they do have in place for that, and I'm glad about that. I'm glad you brought that up too, because if they have moved, it is very important that they share that information with us so that we can get their information updated so that they vote in their correct districts. Where you live and what political person that you're assigned to, that's generally based on where you live at. So it's important to vote for those candidates that are on the ballot that are going to represent you where you live at.
Now, the other thing that a lot of people have complained about, and on both sides of the issue, some people said some candidates use it for a fair, unfair advantage. The other one says a fair advantage. That is the absentee ballot.
Okay.
We know a big case went on in North Carolina where I think a person, one of the congressmen, going to jail or something if they had to vacate because of the absentee ballot. What's the legal procedures for an absentee ballot? Before, you had to be old, you had to be at home, and but now everyone can vote absentee ballot.
Yes.
But you can help people. Tell us how that works.
Okay, an absentee ballot, there's two ways you can vote absentee. You can come in within the 3 week prior to the election and vote. That's called early voting. It is still an
Okay.
absentee ballot, and I
Okay.
think they call it absentee because you're not actually voting at the poll on
Right.
election day. So you can do that, or you can request to get a ballot in the mail, and anybody, doesn't matter if you're not going to be in the county, if you're not going to be in the state, if you're not going to be in the country.
For any other reason, for any other reason.
There's no reason at all.
Right.
You just ask for it.
Okay.
We have special applications that you can request. There is an application process, so you don't just say, I want a ballot, and I think that's a misconception too. I want to get an absentee ballot, and you just get the ballot. You ask for an absentee ballot application. Once the absentee ballot application is completed and returned to us, then we submit your ballot. We send you the ballot. Now, I think last year everybody was trying to get everybody to get an absentee ballot. There were so many groups, whether they were for the right or not for the right, they were just giving out, telling people, just fill this out, just sign here if you want to get an absentee ballot. Do not give your personal information to anybody.
These were campaigns doing this, probably.
Anybody campaigning, anybody standing, or if you don't trust that person, you don't know that person, do not give out your personal information. And they were signing off on things and then getting ballots and then coming in to vote saying they didn't know what they were signing off on. And that brings about a lot of confusion, and we don't want people to get discouraged from voting because of confusing issues, and that was very huge. So I would just urge people, and people when they come around and they're saying this is about voting, of course that sparks up something in you. Yes, I want to vote. Yes, I want it, and you may not be able to get out, but do not give your personal information to anyone that you don't trust.
But absentee ballot is still a good tool to use,
Absolutely.
but if you use it properly,
Yes.
and that is
Yes.
because some people, you can help someone fill out an absentee ballot.
Yes, absolutely. And that's great you brought that up too, because the new law is the person does not have to be a relative anymore. So
Okay.
they can get help from whoever they would like to get help
Now
from.
that makes sense. That's
Yes,
just
sir.
common sense. My
Yes.
next door neighbor could be
Yes.
an older person and need some
Yes,
problem,
sure.
saying I can't help you because you're not my
Yes.
cousin. You
Now,
know?
now, if you can help them and just let them mark an X, that's
Yeah.
all they have to do. And it's so simple, and then we just want everybody to participate.
Okay. Speaking of everybody participating, we've had some people purge. We talked about that. What's the voting roll? What does the voting rolls look like in Bibb County as we speak going into 2020?
110,000 and counting.
110,000
110,000
active voters.
active voters.
And do you know what the eligible voting, if we went out, if everybody was registered in
wow.
Bibb County, you have any idea what the 18 and above? You don't have those numbers.
No, I want to say they said the population. Yeah, I know what the population is, but I wouldn't know what the voting age is. Yeah.
Okay, we know what the voter turnout is based on the registered voters, but I would like to know how many people not registered that's eligible to be registered. And that's what Stacey Abrams, I think that's what she was getting at, that there were so many unregistered people that if she had that strategy, she could increase so many people and get anyway. So so we were 100 and how many?
10.
110,000. How is that? Before it's all broken down by gender and race, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have those figures? How does it break? I know the black female was always a leading
I believe
number.
that's still the case. Yes, sir. Yes, I believe
that's
still the case. And then
the white female, then the black and white male was bringing up the the rear, if you will.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have a job. So you would say, and I don't know what your responsibility when it comes to voter registration, how much promotion money you have to promote, or do you all get it in that at all?
We
You
do
don't
not.
promote voter registration.
No, but
you encourage it, of
Yes,
course,
sir.
but you don't promote it.
And what I like to do in our office, and I think statewide, what all of us strive to do is we put out media blasts to the media and to persons that request to be on our media blast every week. Especially when voting starts to get heavy and right before the voter registration cutoff, so people are aware that these deadlines are coming up. This is what you need to do by this time, and it's generally broadcast on the media nightly. And as we get into early voting, we report the totals that have voted early to the media and to anybody that's on our list. Once those figures are available, we report those on a daily basis.
Okay. Talk to me about the provisional ballot, because we hear a lot about provisional ballot. People show up and say, oh, your name is not here, but you still can vote. People should know they can still vote provisionally.
Absolutely.
While you do the research, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So no one is turned away anymore. If you say you're a registered voter and you show up someplace,
Sure.
your name is not there, you can still vote.
Yes, they can still request a provisional ballot at that particular location, wherever they are. We'd like to send you to your right polling location if they have time. It's good practice, but we leave it up to the voter. If the voter wants to go to their correct polling location, they may, but if they want to vote right there at that particular poll or provisional ballot, the poll worker should provide that ballot to them.
Sure, because what I understand in the past, there was an attitude like, say, if you're not registered to vote here, go some.
No.
Not saying we don't have your list, but if you want to go on and vote here, you
Sure.
can vote, and we work it.
Sure.
And I think that's very important. I
Yes.
think it's very important that
Yes.
we promote that when I say promote it, that people are aware
Yes.
that you can vote provisionally and your ballot will catch up with you somewhere down the line.
We check it out, make sure that you are registered, that you are eligible. That's the process once we receive provisional ballots back. To make sure that person was eligible.
And I say that because, here again, because we have populations in Macon that moves a lot. So people don't know where their polling place. They moved, didn't leave a foreign address because maybe they're running from the rent man. They didn't want them to know where they moved to. But I say that tongue in cheek. But so if they want to go vote, and I used to live at 10 Heights, I don't know where I go vote. So you're saying just go to a polling place. You
no,
don't know.
I'm not saying that.
But you can. I mean, if you go to a polling place,
yes, go to the
you
polling
won't be
place.
turned away.
No.
You can vote provisionally.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are reasons for a provisional ballot, but if that person, like I said, if they don't want to go to the polling location where that is where they are currently registered, the poll worker will give them a provisional ballot.
Okay.
They're requested.
Good.
If they request it.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, we got that out of the way. Where are we moving, talking about getting absentee ballots in the mail? Some states now have gone to voting by mail. Is that on the horizon? Is that something we?
Not in the state of Georgia. Not that I'm aware of. No, sir.
It probably never will happen either in the state of Georgia. Let's move on from that. But next year, as we know, huge primary for the president.
Yes.
Then we have the local primaries, which are not on the same dates.
No.
Different. So give us a rundown what does 2020 look like?
Like how tired we're going to be?
Well, I know how tired you're going to be. I hope you've
okay.
gotten the resources and got enough people. But we'll start what is the first voting date in the 2020? Is that the president? Is that the president?
Yes, the first voting
day. Are we
day.
in Super Tuesday now? March? When are we?
We are not, actually.
We're not in Super Tuesday.
No, we're after Super Tuesday. We're going to be March 24th.
March 24th.
Yes.
So we have why not put, and I'll ask you, maybe if you don't know the question, answer this. If you're not in your lane, fine. But why do we separate the presidential election from the state office election, like senators and U.S. Congress people and all that?
No, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that.
But could you couldn't put the presidential primary, if you wanted to, you couldn't go to the Board of Elections and say, hey, vote to put it here.
No, and I'll tell you why. Because in 2011, the current governor at that time and the Secretary of State at that time, which I believe was Nathan Deal and Brian Kemp at that time, went to the Supreme Court to fight for Georgia to give the Secretary of State here the authority to choose when Georgia votes the presidential preference primary. So they have, the Secretary of State has until December 1st of the year prior to set that date. We just got that date within the last few weeks.
No, but doesn't that cost more money? Who pays for that presidential election?
This each individual county, yes.
So it would make sense to put it all on the same day. That why would a U.S. senator, a U.S. representative, a state senator, and a tax commissioner and a sheriff vote on different days?
Yeah, it's always been
especially if it costs money to do this, and they are saying we don't have money to give you an early voting place, but yet we can have an election a month apart and spend all that money.
Yeah, that's something for the legislatures to
Okay.
to hash out.
Okay, I just got on my soapbox. I know, but anyway,
I
I
understand.
want to make sure that people know.
I know you're not the
People know that we're not very practical here when it comes to spending taxpayers' money.
Yes,
This is
sir.
not very practical to have an
Yes.
election one
Yeah.
month
Yeah.
and turn around next month and have another primary.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get the presidential election out of the way
Mm-hmm.
at 24th of March.
Yes.
And you turn around right the next month or the month after
The
that?
month after, May 19th, will be your general primary election and your nonpartisan general election.
Nonpartisan.
Yes.
So why would a nonpartisan election be on a primary election? Here again, the
Yes.
lawmakers did.
The
You
lawmakers
didn't.
did that.
You don't have any say in that.
No, sir.
Okay.
They did that in 2010.
With the consolidation.
No, they moved the nonpartisan elections for the state of Georgia to be held with the primaries.
All
in
for the state of Georgia, not just here?
In the state
It's
of
a
Georgia.
state law.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we need to sue
Oh,
them and get that
yeah.
law changed.
Yeah.
Because you're probably not aware of it, but there's a move afoot to get Bibb County's nonpartisan election commissions and mayor in November by
Okay.
going to court. I mean, but
Okay.
that's not, we're
I
not
got you. I
petitioning you.
understand.
But whether that's going to prevail, we don't know.
Okay.
Okay, so then you go to May what?
May 19th.
May 19th, and you have, so everyone that's not running for president
Yes.
will vote on May 19th.
Huge ballot, big turnout. Huge ballot, big turnout.
Yeah.
The mayor will be on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Our current mayor cannot run any
Right.
longer. So you got your mayor, you've got all 9 commission seats. All 9 commission seats are still eligible to run again. This will be
Okay.
their final term if they're running again in this particular term.
Sheriff,
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Sheriff,
state reps,
yeah, all your state reps.
state senators,
Yep,
tax commissioner,
yep,
coroner,
yes,
dog catchers.
yeah.
Everyone,
You got me.
What you said, everyone who's
Yes,
running.
everyone, for school, Board of Ed, judges,
All
Superior Court
that in
Clerk,
May.
Water
May
Authority.
19th.
May
Now,
19th, yes.
When does the runoff? If there's a runoff, how long?
There
do you
will
have?
be a runoff.
Yeah.
July 21st.
July 21st.
Yes,
is the
July
runoff.
21st is the runoff.
So is that the ample amount of time? Is that normally the amount of time that you would get?
It's the amount of time for elections that have federal candidates on the ballot since 2014. That law changed in 2014. So 45 days out. And that's to give
Okay.
your military folks a chance to get their ballot back in.
Right.
Okay. So
Okay. Now, speaking of the counting of these ballots, you know, we go into a new procedure. We're going to have a track record, if you will, a paper trail. I guess you call it a paper trail.
Yes.
So you have this paper trail. So you get to keep that paper trail yourself.
Yes.
You get to put that in your pocket.
Yes.
If you want, whatever you want to do with it, it's yours. Now, but how can you, if there's a challenge, let's say it comes within 1%, whatever it takes to get a recount, but the voter doesn't have anything to do with that. That's strictly, the voter can't come up and say, I voted and they didn't do it because here's my paper.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
They're still not identifying someone's ballot with that person because of privacy rules.
Okay.
Privacy laws, yes.
Great. What would you want the voter to know other than, you know, we all encourage people to register and vote, but what are some of the things leading into 2020 that the voters should know that's other than the voting machine itself?
Yes.
And we don't have early voting, so we know we're not going to have an early voting. Well, we don't know that. We don't have one as we speak.
That's what I said.
In Bibb County.
Yeah, right.
But we are advocating for one. That's what I'm hearing from you, that you would like to have that.
Yes, our
That-
board did
that-
decide to include that in our fiscal year 2020 budget to request one. We did do
And the
that.
commissioners disapproved it. at this
Currently,
point.
right now, it has not been approved.
Okay, we got to give them a call.
Okay.
Okay, beyond that, what, in terms of poll location, I know we changed them a couple of years ago. Have we any more changes in polling location?
Only.
This election? coming
No.
up?
Well, I can't say about this election coming up because we do have some polling locations that are pretty large that we may be making some changes with as far
Okay.
as maybe adding another poll because the the voter registration in
Not
those
reducing,
areas.
but
Oh, no,
added.
No,
Okay,
yeah,
good,
yeah, no,
good.
no reductions,
Good.
no consolidation of polls. No, that's not even in our radar to do that. But definitely know where their polling location is. Our office is always available to give that information. That information is also available on the Secretary of State's My Voter Page website. Know these deadlines for registration. We have all this information. It will be on our website. Our website is currently under construction while we start to get all the new information set up on the website. So it'll be out there in the very near future. Know these deadlines. Know that there's early voting. You got 3 weeks that you can come out and vote early. A voter can request an absentee ballot by mail up to 180 days prior to an election. Ask for it and get it over with.
6 months?
Yeah, 3 months. So what did I say, 180?
Yeah,
I'm
90,
sorry.
90 days.
190, I'm sorry.
90
days, 90
Yeah.
days. So request it and get it over with. I do believe they also changed the law where you had to request a presidential preference primary absentee ballot separate from your regular rest of the year. So I believe once they request it that one time now, they'll get it for the rest of the year if they are 65 years and older or disabled. Lots of different things going on. We try to keep the public educated, know who you want to vote for. A lot of these candidates are having platforms and they have campaign sites. They have sites on their web page. They have web pages, Facebook pages, Twitter, all this new technology out there where you can research your candidate. Because a lot of times they want us to tell them about a candidate and we can't necessarily assist them with that. So just a lot of information.
That's a lot of information indeed. We have about 2 minutes left on this show. Just speaking of how you've shared so much information, but I want to know, get back to the voter registration. 30 days out.
30 days out.
30 days before any election. So if
yes.
let's say the presidential primary is in March, and I don't make that one, I can still register to vote in the other ones coming down the pike.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, so if I wasn't on the roll for the president, doesn't mean I can't vote on the rest
That's
of them.
correct. Yeah, if you're on the roll for the president, you vote for the president, and you're good to go.
Well, if you're not on the roll for the president.
Oh, if you're not on the roll for the president,
but you still get 30 days before the next one
absolutely.
to get registered. Okay.
And you don't. And once you're registered for that primary, you're good to go for that runoff.
Okay.
And then make
But
sure.
if you don't vote in the primary, you can still vote in the runoff.
That's correct.
And a lot of people get that confused.
That's correct. And you can't switch parties. If you voted Democrat or Republican in the primary, you have to vote Democrat or Republican in the runoff.
You know,
Can't switch.
One of the biggest misconceptions in this town is that, well, I found as a candidate running, when you get in a runoff, a lot of people say, I voted for you already. I got to go back and vote for you.
Yes, sir. Oh.
You know, so the runoff, I think that's
Yes.
one we know we always have a low turnout in runoffs. Well, we have about 30 seconds, so what else did we cover everything?
Yes.
And I think I like this little pamphlet you put out here. And everyone should stop by the Board of Election to get one of these.
Sure, those are distributed to us free of charge by the League of Women Voters.
Give
We
you
supply-
all of your everyone that's running, that's holding a position, not running, but holding a position.
Currently,
You
and it's
have
up
it
to
there.
date.
So go by the Board of Election and get your government directory and your voter guide. We've been speaking with Ms. Jeanetta Watson, who is I want to say executive director, but she's a supervisor for the Board of Election. Doing a great job. Been with us 6 years in this position, but been around here about 13 years all told. So she's told us she's doing a good job for us. So register, vote. Any question, contact the Board of Elections. They're located on Pinon Avenue, the old Westgate, or Google them. The number will pop right up. Trust me, I know. We want to thank you very much for joining us. And you keep doing the great work. And until you have something else to share, always you can come back here and share. Okay?
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we thank you all for joining us. Until next week, I'm your host, Jack Ellis. Thanks so much for joining us. I want you to like us we're on YouTube. Like us on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube. We want to thank our sponsors, Caduceus Medicine and J. Franklin Automotives, and always the people at WMUB, Mercer Channel 38 here at Mercer University. Until next week, I'm your host, Jack Ellis. Goodbye.